obviously she continued painting. I mean, you wouldn't leave that ugly tile and half of it painted, but she should have at least given us a finished shot. Hi, I'm Brian with Boulevard Home. Today, I'm gonna watch some TikTok videos and I'm gonna give you my reaction. Okay, they're showing a scene of an outdated room. She's now taking off the baseboards all the way around the room. The room has old, outdated tile. She's now mopping the tile. The tile is a 1 foot by 1 foot ugly brown. It's terrible. Gray paint on the walls. Whoa, now she's painting the tile? So that's interesting. Now she's putting a clear coat over top of the paint she put on the tile. Now putting the baseboards back on and showing a before and after. Wow, that looks pretty good. I don't think I've seen anybody paint tile on the floor. I've seen people paint tile on the wall. It's never occurred to me on the floor because the floor gets a lot of traffic. And you would think that that paint would, especially in the high traffic areas, wear down and eventually wear off in spots and start to show the ugly brown tile underneath. So it looks really cool and it'd be a really cool fix. I don't know how I'd react to it in person, you know, because it is on a video. But it actually looked really good when they were done. But those are my concerns right there, is how long would that last before you'd either have to redo it, which obviously you could. If you're flipping the home, it would probably work really well because you don't have to deal with the consequences of the paint wearing off the tile eventually. A couple of other options that you could do, you could leave the tile down, and then in between the tile is where your grout is out. And what we do is we do an embossing. I would put an embossing down, which is a liquid cement that would fill in the gaps. And then I would probably either do LVP, luxury vinyl plank, installed over top of that tile. I'd go through the same processes. I'd take the baseboards off, install the LVP down on top of the tile. So now you don't have the cost of taking the tile out. You totally transform the place, because then that luxury vinyl plank could be an LVP that looks like tile, or it could be an LVP that looks like wood. So you have a lot more options if you're trying to update the place and maybe sell it, or if you're just trying to update it for yourself. The more expensive option, and probably in the long run the best option, would be to take out the old tile and then install new black tile. And even nowadays with people going retro, you could even go with a black and white tile. It would look really awesome. All right, watch another video. It's a wood floor, it looks like. He's cleaning it, and it looks like there's a gap in the wood floor. He's vacuuming out that gap to try to get all the little scraps out, make sure it's nice and clean. So he's done that. Now he's laying down a 2x4 on top of that plank. Now, I can't tell if this is a wood plank or an LVP plank, but either way, he's now putting down, looks like, double-sided stick tape. He's sticking that 2x4 to the double stick tape. He's now applying glue to that gap in between the planks. And now he's tapping the 2x4 that's down with double-sided stick tape to squeeze the plank together and close the gap. Now he's wiping off the glue, which is a good idea because it'll keep that plank in place and hopefully not move again. I had a house last year up in Leeds where we went in there and the laminate had that all over the place, and she was all freaking out. What can we do? And I'm like going, bring an installer in here and tap them all together and do the exact same thing. So that is a really good DIY hack, you know, especially if you're trying to fix it up yourself. Lots of times if the floor wasn't installed correctly, and I do think that now maybe that was probably a laminate instead of a wood floor. The older laminates, the locking systems aren't nearly as strong as like maybe an LVP, and so they can separate over time. So that is a really good DIY hack. If you had a lot of those on your floor, you could close all of those gaps all up. The only thing I think you'd have to be concerned yourself with is if the double-sided stick tape that you were using, if that adhesive was a little too sticky, and maybe when you went to go peel it off the plank when you were all done, it could maybe take the finished surface off of that old product. Best thing to do is over in a corner or underneath a dresser or something, test that out first. You know, test out the double-sided stick tape, put it on there, peel it off, and make sure it's not taking the finish off on the floor that you're trying to repair, because that's only going to cause you a bigger problem. Our installers, they do have a tool that they purchased that does the exact same thing, double-sided stick tape, except for being a piece of scrap 2x4, it's steel with a hinge plate on it, and it's the exact same concept, and it's the exact same thing an installer would do when he comes in to repair a gapping floor like that. Okay, so again, we got a tile floor, and this is a peel and stick LVP. The size of the planks are probably 12 by 24. And she's peeled it and laid it right on top of the tile. Looks really good. However, there's some issues and concerns that I would tell you to avoid while doing this project. Again, over top of tile, there's grout. This LVP that's a peel and stick is a lot thinner. It's very flexible. You can see that when she's installing it. And so what's going to happen over time is those grout lines in between the tile, they're lower than the tile themselves, and so it's going to telegraph up through that LVP over time. So right now it looks amazing, but in the high traffic areas, that's definitely going to telegraph. So just like I referred to in a video I just watched, simple solution is just emboss the top. When we say emboss the top, again, like I said, it's a liquid slurry of cement that dries fairly quickly after you put it down, but you just kind of squeegee it over top of the tiles, and then it finds its way into the lower grout areas. And then when that dries, you have a relatively smooth surface. Obviously, what that can't fix is when the tiles meet at the different corners, you're always going to have some tiles that are up just a little bit higher than the other. And so you can't fix that with a little slurry, right? And when you peel and stick those LVP product on top of the tile, that's also going to telegraph. You know, when you walk over top of that, you're going to feel it. You're not going to see it though. So pretty interesting product. It has its drawbacks, but for a quick DIY, change the look and feel of the place, because it totally changed the way that place looked. Okay, so this is a wood floor. It has a damage spot in it where the finish has peeled back off and has left a yellow spot to see the natural color of the original color of the wood. So this lady's coming in, she's using a hair dryer and a crayon. So she's filling in the spot with that crayon, and then she's using the hair dryer to heat up and melt the crayon into that damaged piece of wood flooring, and then looks great. When you stand up and walk away, you can't even see it. Obviously, she did her homework to make sure that that color of crayon was really close to some of the darker colors. Really cool DIY hack. The hack would work really good. Only drawback would be like maybe in a climate like Southern Utah's climate where we can get really hot, and you know, if the air conditioning's off, maybe that would soften that up. But it accomplishes the same thing as a set of furniture repair pins. The advantage that you'd get out of a furniture repair pin is that that is probably a stain that's inside of that pin. I don't know for sure because I've never looked into it, but a furniture repair pin, if it is a stain, that would soak into that exposed wood that doesn't have any finish on it and maybe last longer than the crayon that's, you know, rubbed in there and then heated up a little bit. I don't know that that crayon would soak into the damaged spot like the furniture pin would. I don't know. Actually, you think about a crayon and it's sticky, and she used the blow dryer to heat it up and make it adhere to that bare wood scratch. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good hack. Okay, there's a shower, and it's an older tile, a style that's on the wall. She's peeled out the caulking that's in the corners. Looks like she's cleaning off the tile, trying to get all the hard water spots off, get the grout clean. She's now mixing, it looks like an epoxy paint, and she's applying that over top of the tile in the shower, and totally transforming the shower. So instead of being that outdated, ugly tile in the shower. It's now one color. You still see the definition of where the tiles are, but you don't see the color of the tile anymore. I have never seen a shower painted. Yeah. That's interesting. In that tile, there was a decorative mosaic. I think there was 2 of them separating the different segments of the wall. It would have been really cool if she painted the whole wall, but then came back in and maybe put a stripe. Now that I think about it, that would look awful. So don't do that. It's an interesting, hack to get around tearing that all out, because it is expensive to tear out a shower tile and put in new. Even though it was an epoxy, how well would that adhere to the tile? And in a year or 2, you'd have a peeling mess. I just can't see that would hold. So I just don't see that as a good DIY hack. The other video that you showed me where they painted the floor, they did an epoxy style paint as well. She was mopping, but did she actually, use an acid cleaner to really get all the dirt off, etch that floor so that the paint could adhere to that a little bit better? So both hacks, very interesting hacks, but just think about a dresser you painted and then what did it look like a couple of years later? You know what I'm saying? And you have to put a new coat on there. So it's a very temporary fix if you ask me. Eventually you need to tear it out and put in something new if you're wanting to update. I hope you've enjoyed my reactions to these videos and maybe some of my comments. If you have, consider giving us a like and maybe subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate the interest you have. Maybe even come down and see us here at Boulevard Home in St. George, Utah. We have a great showroom and awesome salespeople, and we can answer some of these questions that you might have on maybe different ideas of how to update at the best possible price. Thanks for watching.